Hey everyone, welcome to our conversation today. And here today I have Baron Ernst, and we're going to be talking about AI products today. And Baron, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hey everyone, I'm Baron. I'm excited to do this with Rana. We're going to talk a little bit about what we're seeing in AI products and some of the things we think are going well and what could be done better. Just for background, I have been working in tech for about 20 years, over 20 years as of last September. I've worked at places like Booking, Figure.com, Snap, Intuit, and a variety of startups in addition to starting my own startup. So just excited to talk product and growth today with Rana.
Thanks, Baron. Rana here. I am a product strategist and currently building AI product strategy for a couple of clients as an advisor. I've also been in tech for many more decades than I want to remember. um, Worked for several companies, including early stage startups to established brands. Um, did B2C products as well as B2B products. And in one case, one of my products had like 100 million unique users a month.
That's awesome.
That was fun.
That's really
Um,
fun.
yeah. And when it comes down to consumer products, especially, user experience makes a big difference. And Barron and I have been talking. We're also part of Reforge Partners, so we talk a lot from time to time. And we realized that in this AI world, user experience is shifting significantly. Is that a good thing or bad thing? And we started to talk about the good and the bad and the ugly. And today we're going to tear down or at least have share our thoughts on one of the products or multiple products today. Um, And so with that, I will say, Baron, talk about the prompt experience. What do you think of prompt experience?
Yeah. So the way this conversation started is I've had a few uh, chats with other advisors about things that companies are trying and a lot of that. And it's interesting with all of the tooling that exists from Claude Design to Lovable to the variety of apps that allow you to quickly and easily spin up a prototype to build a good user experience. One of the interesting trends that we were talking about is a lot of products are actually just going toward let's just go for the agentic experience, but make it our core user experience. And honestly, I don't think it's a good idea because it's one thing if you're OpenAI or you're Claude and you are essentially this resource to all of the knowledge, all of the workflows to build code, to do prototyping, etc. But for most products, they have a specific goal in mind. I want you to purchase something. I want you to take this activity. I want you to watch video. And most of the time, my hypothesis is, and we've seen it a little bit in the data that I've seen with some people I've worked with, giving them an open-ended experience versus giving them a clearly directed railed experience, like the open-ended experience does not work as well. I think our assumption is that just because everyone is using chat and has used Google, they can figure it out. But I I don't actually think it's true. And so what we wanted to talk about today are some examples where we've seen where it just feels like it actually makes things more complicated than the alternative.
Yeah, agreed. And I think I'm seeing that like that prompt those prompt experiences evolve over time too. Like in the beginning, when OpenAI and even Anthropic Claude experience came along, it was a chat experience where we pretty much had to type in something. And the truth is, people didn't know what they wanted. Even
Yeah.
with these sort of open ended products that could solve anything, people struggled with it. And the next thing I saw was like they were kind of seeding questions to tell the world what they could do. Remember that? And
Yeah.
I've seen that pattern evolve. Even Lovable now has like certain prompts that you can easily get started with.
I mean, it's like everything, right? I feel
Yeah.
like the I mean, if I just think back, a lot of the initial user experiences, like pre-chat, would be these kind of like, people want options and people want choice. And then we would ship it. And then over time, we'd realize people don't actually want as much choice as you think that they do. People want to be directed. They want to, they're coming to you and they're buying your product. They're picking your product because they want you to help them achieve the goal that they had. And that's why they picked your product in the first place. If you then are like, thanks for coming and picking my product, now I'm not going to tell you how to do the thing and you're going to have to figure out how to prompt me, I think it actually just creates a really awful experience for a lot of people. So that was, yeah. So I think we were going to talk a little bit about what that might look like with a product that I know fairly well, because they were a competitor to one of my previous companies, but they didn't have this user experience back in the day. So like, this is just us talking about it in a completely unprompted way because I happened to go on their website. It's a company called better.com. And, I think the intent is just like, I don't have any ill will toward Better. They're a totally fine company. It's just more of an interesting like look at their two versions of their user experience to see what I think are still some pretty big gaps in an agentic experience versus kind of the typical railed onboarding experience.
Yeah, tell us, Baron, about what the business value proposition, like the product value proposition of this product is.
So the product value proposition, and I'm just going to share really quickly here.
Yep.
So the value proposition for Better in general is they're primarily a mortgage company. You may have heard about them back in the day. There was some interesting news with layoffs that they had done, but I mean, they've stayed in the mortgage space. They started off as a mortgage company. They've diversified over time into other types of home lending products. So think of them as a fintech home lender. Mm-hmm. Mortgage being their primary product, but they also do home equity lines of credit. They do refis, etc. I bring all that up just to kind of mention, like, people are going to come to better.com or be marketed to better.com if they're looking to get equity out of their home, which for many people is complicated, right? Most people understand a mortgage. They understand the rate for their mortgage. Once you go beyond sort of the general mortgage of I'm buying a new home and I need a mortgage, when you go into refis and HELoans, HELOCs, et cetera, there's just a lot of challenging experiences there that you're trying to figure out, like, what's the right product for me? And so I think probably the hypothesis is, well, this would help them figure that out, but we'll show in a second why I think it actually creates more complications than it solves in many cases.
Yeah, and I keep put myself in the first time buyer's shoes. They are kind of like deer with a headlight.
Yes,
exactly. They have no idea what a mortgage is. I mean, they may have heard of what mortgage is, but they don't even know what they can afford, to be honest.
And most people, so they do a good job of here trying to prompt you with some ideas. But I mean, if you think about it, and I know this from my time at Figure, most people, the question they're going to ask is something like the following: I want to remodel my house. Like, because people don't think about, if you think about it from a product perspective.
Can you zoom in a bit so we can
see no
a
problem.
little bit? I just wonder if, yeah, okay, sounds good. Yeah, that looks good, better.
And so, but if you think about it, most people don't think in terms of, like, eventually they're going to think about what's my rate, how much am I paying, how much am I drawing, but they're usually focused on their end goal, right? And for most people, end goal, when you're taking out, if you're taking a mortgage, it's I'm trying to buy a house. If you're taking out an equity line of credit, it's something usually like, I want to do renovations, I want to pay off some debt that I may have at a higher interest rate, I want to start a new business. But that tends to be the frame. It doesn't tend to be, I want the best rate loan for the blah, 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 blah. They're thinking about the objective that they have, right? And so they're going to come with a question like, I want to remodel my house. Here's what I find interesting about the answer is this answer is totally acceptable. It's like, yeah, here are the best loan types for this particular thing. What I find interesting is in neither of these cases, after I've prompted it, telling it I want to remodel, it's given me two recommendations. It isn't saying, do you want to pick one of those two recommendations? Do you want to move forward? It's actually now leaving it more open-ended so that I can still keep asking questions. When we've tested this with other products, what we often find here is like this creates a pretty big opportunity for drop-off. Because as you can imagine, at this point, I've told you I want to remodel my house. You've given me
Yep.
some options, but you haven't made it super easy to know which one to pick. It's like, here's two options, and we can give you other options as well. And it's like, I kind of just want you to tell me what to do next, right? And so if I say, like, just tell me what to do next,
Yep.
see, still decide on the loan type, right? It's like, and so the funny thing is, like, the agents, I find that this experience is just creating a situation where I'm not building confidence with the customer. I'm not sort of taking them on a journey that helps them make the right decision, or that at least gets them down that path. And so I thought it was a good example, because you could easily just sit here and talk to it all day. I can ask it, what's a HELOC? It'll give me a long answer on a HELOC.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't really, and then it's like, do you want to learn more? Do you want to get started? And it's like, I want to learn. And the point of this is, you're having this chat experience. You're having all this discovery happening here. And I'd love to see data, if they have it, that proves me wrong. But what I've seen with some other products when we've tried this is this becomes the user experience. And oftentimes you're losing up to half of your people. You're just trying to get registered into your funnel,
Yep.
because they're just sitting in this agentic chat experience. And so to me, like, that's part of the kind of fascinating thing. Now, the interesting thing is, once you hit continue in the corner, it takes you to their old experience, which is very similar to most loan experiences we've seen, or that I've seen, that I've built. And what's funny about this is, I still think this is a much better experience, because we're starting with problem framing. What do you want
Yep.
the cash for? We're then going into address, which is going to be one of the key things that you need to get. But you can see that I'm already further down the road going this route than I was going the other route. It allows you to very easily continue to keep your proof points, your testimonials, different things on the page, which is a lot harder through the agentic experience. And then the other key thing is, it's just a lot easier to kind of track progress this way versus through a chat experience. Chat experience, you're often tracking how many interactions, what do the interactions look like. There's definitely a bigger mix of doing evals against both the qualitative and the quantitative,
Yeah.
whereas a railed experience is still just very easy to track. So I share all of that. And then the other thing that I would say is, and we'll get into this a little bit, that I think what we're seeing is just a very, like, lowest common denominator version of design. People are seeing what they're using every day, and they're just like, I should just apply that. And I think what will actually start to happen out of this is, I'm not saying don't use AI. I mean, I mentioned all the tools you can use to build prototypes quickly at the beginning, but I think over time, that combination of quick tooling, quick rapid iteration through good user experiences tested with people, and then moving into, how can AI enhance those experiences? Can it better prompt the right questions? Can it better show, can it try to autofill things like your address, different things, where I think AI can make the railed experience much better. To me, over time, that's probably where we actually go, versus assuming everyone is going to know the right inputs to make on a very large chat
So
box.
one
So
thing I
yeah,
would say, you're absolutely right, Baron, in terms of,
yeah,
when you have a problem that requires quite a few questions and answers, and like quite a few discovery on your end to converge to a decision point, is chat the right experience, is
yeah,
definitely a question in my mind. But then at the same time, I use Claude CLI quite a bit, and it's just a chat experience, and it allows
true,
me to build products, which is much more complex, right? Like, you're making tiny decisions, but they have really thought through the experience quite well. Like, for instance, um, it gives me options. For instance, it'll say, "Hey, would you like me to proceed with this or no?"
correct,
Or it'll sometimes say, like, don't ask, if you want, I won't ask this question again, and I'll continue to use this permission level for all the next few queries that I'm going to be doing. And it made it so easy to just choose one, two, or three, and I don't even have to type. It's just like a keystroke and it's done, right? And what I realized is that it was really trying to drive me to an option rather than just saying, oh, there's five other things I can do for you, because I don't care about the five other
I
things you're
agree.
doing for me. And when I look at this experience, that that's the first thing that jumps in my head, is that someone has done disservice to the end customer, wherein they actually didn't test this experience themselves to say, is this converging or is it diverging?
I agree.
It's not converging at all. And it feels very, sorry to say this word, but there's no product sense injected in that, um, like, top of the funnel onboarding experience. I
Yeah,
think this is, again, this is a trend that's happening across the board. This is not the only experience that I've seen, where the executives have said to the product team that, hey, we need to go out and build AI prompting experiences everywhere in our product. We need to tell the world that we are AI first and we are AI native. And the product teams are like, yes, I'll just put a prompt
yeah,
that has an LLM in the back end. Now we have an AI powered product.
I totally agree.
And if you don't sit down and think about what are you trying to drive the user towards, this is the type of experience you'll end up having.
And I think to your point, Claude does a really good job with it. You can, I have Claude whenever I'm building new skills and new projects, new websites. I have it use ask user question all the time, but it even just uses it on its own much more to like ask me the right intelligent questions. And I think the point here is not that chat or agentic can't work. It's that not guiding the user to an outcome
Yeah.
is the issue. It's
Yeah.
There's going to be lots of new interfaces, but I worry
You want
that
to
what we're
stop sharing for a second?
yes, yeah.
We can see each other better.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to yeah, good call.
Do you
Sorry
want to
about
share
that.
something else, though?
No, the only thing I was going to show is like I don't think for example like this is a bad experience, right? What I was going to just show is that people, I mean, we've seen a lot of success with the agentic chatbot in the corner that
Yeah.
helps guide you through an experience that you're going through. And so maybe having a better integrated version of that into the experience is one of the big opportunities. But like to your point, and I think what we're trying to just say is just because chat exists and AI exists and all these things, don't forget that your users probably still are not using it the way you are. And I think that's my kind of what I'm trying to bring up is a lot of people I think are making this assumption that, well, I use the chatbot all the time, therefore everyone does. And I think the last data I saw on Anthropic is it's like less than 5% of the population is using it every day. Most of us are every day, but the actual usage is still quite low. And and that's not to say that it won't grow, it will.
It will.
But it's important to keep in mind that for the majority of people, like they're not experiencing AI the way we are. They're experiencing, I'm trying to get a thing done and I come to this web page and now there's this chatbot thing that I don't totally understand. And if that's the experience you deliver to them, you can't be upset when they don't know how to do it. And I think that's kind of the point of this is we're all learning through this process, but I think there are still basic concepts that people need to keep in mind around user experience.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the whole thing, right? Like taste still matters. Good user experience still matters. Just because we can churn out 24 versions of the user experience quickly doesn't mean that picking the right one is any less important. It actually means it's more important now because you know, you can iterate through them quite quickly and figure out the right one. And I think that's the lesson that a lot of people need to take away over time. And I see it just to your point, it happens a lot where, like you said, an executive comes in and says, we need to do more AI agentic stuff. And it's like, okay, we'll just build a chatbot. And I'm serious. And
No,
like a lot
it's
of the
true.
time,
It's true.
it's
It's
so
true.
true. And it's like, that's, yes, you can now claim you're an AI company, but have you really done anything innovative or unique for your particular
Is that
business?
actually
Probably not.
useful to the user?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Like you can
And what is
check
the
the
metric?
box.
Like,
Yes.
how do you figure out if what you've shipped is actually improving your metric or like hurting your metric or whatnot? Like, I'll give
And
you
yeah,
another point of view that I have is that, I mean, we had AI like for what, 20 years now. Since Google has been born, we've had AI. We had
exactly.
AI even before Google was born, right? So The Gen AI concept is slightly different. It's actually doing tasks for you more than just searching for first tasks. And you look at Google's experience in the initial stages when they launched, and even for like the first 10 years or so, they basically just looked at keywords because they knew that asking people to ask questions is going to be hard. So
Because
they
people
built
didn't
their
know
whole algo around keywords.
yeah, people didn't know what questions to ask.
Right. So, like training humans to ask questions was they knew that that was going to be a Achilles heel for them, and so they went with keywords. And I remember spending quite a bit of time on keyword analysis at ask.com, our Q&A engine. And of course, what the Gen AI products are expecting are long form like prompts. And I remember myself trying open like ChatGPT when it came out in 2022, and I was like, I don't know what to do with it.
I think I had the same experience. I was
I
like,
was
what is
like,
this
what do
for?
I
Yeah,
ask this thing? And so I asked some dumb questions, and it gave me some answers, and I was like, this is useless, and I kind of abandoned it. It's only later on when I started to hear more and more from humans is like I said, oh, I should go out and try it more and try it more and try it more. But that said, there's one thing that I would say is that don't force the user to write a prompt when they can click a button.
I completely agree.
And don't force them to type in or click 100 buttons when they can just ask a question,
I agree.
right? And this
Let's
methodology is
not,
something I'm
yeah,
not seeing across the board
yeah,
yet.
let's not lose all of the best practices of user experience just because a chat is a thing again. I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah,
100%. Yeah.
yeah, right. And we're actually, I'm helping a few customers, clients right now with AI powered products, and their thinking is like, let's just put a Q&A product and it'll solve everything. And I was like, yeah, that's one way of solving things, but that's not the only way, right?
I agree.
And we're actually building an entire like permissions based voice agents product, like outbound voice agents, right? And the internal user experience looks very much like a B2B SaaS product
But that makes
with some
sense. Yeah,
prompts in some places. It makes sense
exactly.
to call the LLM, right? Most of it is just you click this button, you click here, and there's a flow that you go through. And you don't need AI and LLM for that. You don't need prompts for that.
You don't need prompts, or you can use it like have it ask questions and then based on the responses, have it intelligently ask the next sets of questions where historically we would have generated like if question A or B, then prompt with question C. But now you can actually have it do some of that type of stuff, but then it at least can keep the user experience in like a better state in a lot of
When
ways.
things get fuzzy, right? So there are
Exactly.
times when no matter how many buttons and radio buttons and click check boxes you put, you're not able to help the customer explain exactly what they want to do, in which case putting in a prompt is perfect for that
I agree.
because the use case is very, very fuzzy and it can change from one person to another person. And we're completely ignoring that and saying, oh, OpenAI and Claude and all the other companies have decided to put a chat interface. So we should just build a chat interface too. That's all.
It's true. Yeah.
And it's so sad. But
Yeah.
I actually do like Lovable's experience.
No, I do too.
And
And I
they've
think they've iterated on it and improved it quite a lot. They've added, like you said, the templates and other things. And I think that's really a big change that they've made.
but actually I'm glad that you shared that experience with better.com. While it seems like they have made a huge leap forward by putting AI experience or prompt experience, I think there's still something that they can do to converge the decision making of the user. I don't know if they've done enough evals to say that the user is actually driving or moving towards a goal rather than sitting there and just going in circles asking more and more questions.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think the fascinating thing is the following, and I know we're probably trying to wrap up a little bit, but I mean the fascinating thing to me about Better is, and I think this will be the question for a lot of companies, is the user chat experience that they put on their front door their actual user experience? Or is that the user experience they put there for the random bits of organic traffic that they're getting? and they are actually still sending the majority of people into a guided flow because it was easy for me to get to it, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, I think one of the other interesting things to watch will be, does this be like, how many companies actually try to make it their onboarding experience versus how many companies are actually just AIifying their front door so that they look like an AI company? Because for all we know, Better is still sending all of its search traffic through a bunch of other web pages, and this is just a front door. And I think that'll be the other interest. So in addition to watching how many companies try it, watching how many companies try it, and then whether or not they actually are using it or they're actually backdooring to their main onboarding flow through alternative means. I think it's going to be really interesting to watch. It'll also be really hard to know, but to
Yeah.
me, that's going to be another interesting trend that will happen over the next couple of years too.
Agreed. And I've seen this type of experience across multiple different um, verticals
Yeah.
and products that are basically under pressure to become AI native. And their answer is to just to put a prompt on the website.
Going
And
back to Portlandia, it's putting a bird on it, right?
oh God, it just feels so. I mean, I understand
I get it,
the
but
stress, right? I
yes,
understand the pensions of not losing the business and not having an AI native company eat their lunch. But also just think about the users, man.
yeah,
Think
I
about what
agree.
they're trying to do.
I agree.
Make it easy for them to get to the next step. Do you know what I mean?
I totally agree.
Yeah. I wish I could have a conversation with the product team and say, hey, have you guys done any evals on this? Just to
I
see what's
mean,
going on.
I'm sure they have, but
I
yeah,
hope so. I
I
hope
hope
so
so.
for their own
Yeah,
sake.
for their own sake,
Because it's
exactly.
like top of the funnel, guys. Like that's probably cost them a lot of money to get traffic
Yeah,
to the website, right? But all good. Thanks so much, Baron.
thank you, Rana.
We should also do one where where the user experience is actually good.
I completely agree.
You know,
We should do that.
maybe the next one.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. All right. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Rana.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.